Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
As long as the Matrix exists, the human race will never be free.
Start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now?
Terrorists! Terrorize this.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
And starring the mad prophet of the airways, Howard Dealer.
George Ruddy died today. Edward George Ruddy was the chairman of the board of the Union Broadcasting Systems, and he died at 11 o'clock this morning of a heart condition, and woe is us. We're in a lot of trouble. So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now. Because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel. The ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. Because this company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network? So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourselves. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Turn them off. That's right, everybody. It makes a good point, right? Dress like the tube, eat like the tube, think like the tube. Imagine if television wasn't in our homes. Imagine for a second. I wonder what that would be like. We'd have to come up with original thought, critical thinking, free expression, our own ideas of how to dress and how to think and what to eat. And I wonder if we'd be more instinctual. I don't know. Just some food for thought. All right, let's kick this off. Greetings, free thinkers, truth seekers, sheepdogs, and gladiators in the arena of life. Listen, I'm going through a hardcore Spartacus period in my life, all right? That show is awesome. It is Thursday, February 2nd, 2012. You have found yourselves in the fight of your lives here on the front lines in this war on our humanity. I am your host, Darren Stone, broadcasting to you live from you know where. Tonight's call-in number is 917-889-3064. All callers and topics are welcome because remember, kids, staring up at the pretty yellow sky while wiping the blood from your nose is not the time to let your voice be heard. 917-889-3064. That was a radiation reference, people. I've come to learn that a yellow sky means radiation, and obviously a bloody nose is an indicator of radiation poisoning. I put it all together. 917-889-3064. All right. The normal pluggage. Then we'll get right into this thing. Calling the front. FrontRadio.net for you new listeners. Check it out. From FrontRadio.net, the official website of the program. You can get to our YouTube channel, our Twitter page, whatever that is, and, of course, Fascist Book. Check us out on all of those social media networks. One quick mention about Facebook. I guess that new timeline thing for Facebook, I guess we're all going to be switched over to that. I will say if that happens to pages like the front, pages that you have to like, that page will probably be done. Because my view of timeline is that it is meant to completely confuse people trying to look at information on your page, and it buries information even faster than the current form of Facebook. So just throwing that out there. You'll have to go right over to frontradio.net for good stuff. Look, this is a movement, people, and movements need support. So if you have any inkling to support free speech radio, check out frontradio.net, and there's a little donate button. You can donate $1 or $2. Look, and people struggling with cash, please don't. I'm not asking that. And I know most people are struggling with cash, but look, it's not at all costs, people. You know, if you have a couple extra bucks, throw it in there. If you have $20, I'll send you a free T-shirt with your donation of $20. Pretty cool T-shirts. Check them out. FrontRadio.net. All right. And a little plug for my friend Stephanie Sledge over at Government Rag. Check out her website, governmentrag.com. Also on Facebook. All your truth or headlines daily. And, of course, the most important thing, or one of the most important thing, if not the most important thing happening in our world today, radioactive fallout from Fukushima, and now we have a couple plants here in the United States, one in Southern California, one in Byron, Illinois, both having some issues. But as the NRC says, nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. They're still telling you that about Fukushima, by the way. So, and speaking of a rad chick, visit her page on Facebook, and I have your latest rad chick fallout forecast for you. So while we're on the subject of rad chick, why don't we hit this latest forecast? I haven't heard this yet, but this is also dealing with the 2 nuclear sites in the United States that are having issues right now. So let's check this out together as a cohesive unit.
This is your 3-minute radiation fallout forecast for Wednesday, February 1st, 2012. This forecast will identify the areas of highest potential fallout concern based on jet stream, precipitation, and water vapor analysis. In addition, we will now include reporting of fallout potential from emergency nuke plant shutdowns in the U.S. due to their increasing frequency. In Canada, radar at the Weather Office of Environment Canada shows rain currently in the areas north of Vancouver in BC, in Saskatoon and Saskatchewan, far north of Sudbury and Ottawa, and throughout the cities of Quebec and Montreal. The jet stream position will put Montreal and Quebec at the highest risk for radioactive precipitation over the next 2 days. In the U.S., Alaska is currently under threat between Anchorage and Glacier Bay Park for the next day. Hawaii is currently not under threat. Current radar from Intellicast and NOAA precipitation tables show a moderate risk from the Seattle area south to approximately Fresno, California. At highest risk are the states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Louisiana for Wednesday, and Kansas, Oklahoma, North Texas, Arkansas, and Maine on Thursday due to a shift in the jet stream. An additional area of concern would be for anyone east of the Byron nuclear plant in Byron, Illinois, due to an emergency shutdown and possible ongoing steam releases from cooling problems. As a reminder, the status of Cooper Nuclear and Fort Calhoun is currently unknown. In Europe, there is a reprieve for Ireland and the UK for the next 2 days. Moderate risk, though, of iodine-131 may continue in Finland, Norway, and Sweden, as reported today in air samples collected from January 16th through the 23rd. The Finnish Meteorological Institute is working in cooperation with the neighboring countries' radiation protection authorities. It may also be related to current solar activity interacting with high atomic weight Fukushima fallout. Hopefully they will determine the source. Scattered rain with jet stream overlay will put Spain and Italy at the highest risk for the next 2 days. Regardless of the origin, all radiation is harmful, as the effects are cumulative and may be originating from multiple sources in Japan, the U.S., Europe, and elsewhere. Radiation has no borders, and it affects all people, regardless of genetics or country. Please care for your fellow man and share this information with others. This message has been brought to you by Radchick and the Orion Talk Radio Network. We care about you because your government doesn't. Stay safe.
Yes, we care about you because your government doesn't. And she's right. Radiation knows no borders. The radiation doesn't know that it should stay in Japan, everybody. It just floats around wherever it's carefree. It goes wherever the wind carries it. All right, let's get in here. What do I have for you tonight? I have some NWO news, pre-crime. Yes, we've talked about it, but it's becoming more and more prevalent. Also, in your New World Order news, I have 19 things school kids are getting arrested for. But the bigger question is, why are children being placed under arrest? You see, when I was in school, they didn't place children under arrest. They didn't do that. We had things like detention and suspension. If you were a really bad kid, you'd get suspended. And if you got suspended too much, you'd have to repeat your year. You know. So I have those two things for you in NWO news. That is New World Order news for you recently awoken sheeple. Health news. being sad is now a disorder. That's right. Normal human emotions are now considered a disorder, and we all know what happens with disorders. They have treatments. Also, silver. I got this right before I was heading onto the air. I didn't put it in the show description. Silver for fighting cancer. So we're going to check that out. And in health news, I also have planking. Right. Now, thing with planking has become kind of a joke, like a thing people do in crazy situations. They plank. But we're gonna talk a little bit about the functionality of a plank. It's not the most exciting thing, but if we're talking about shit hit the fan or survival type fitness or preparation, a strong core, which is everything from your nipples to your knees, will be a great advantage to you for many things. What's your core? Well, you know what? I'll just wait till I get there. So we're going to talk about some planking. And Big Brother news. We will go over what ACTA is. Okay, we all heard. We've been smacked around in the face with SOPA and PIPA, and while they were distracting us with SOPA and PIPA, they threw in a little bit of ACTA. So we'll get into all the uhs in a little bit. And survival prep news. Sorry, people, no Selco tonight. The article I was going to cover with Selco ended up not being a written article, but an audio article, 24 minutes long. Didn't want to rip that down and play that for you in its entirety. So I will be throwing the link up to that on the Front's website and Facebook page, so you can listen to Selco talk about a real a gunfight in a real shit hit the fan scenario. For those of you who don't know, Selco is. He was a regular guy in the Balkans, and during the Balkan Wars, he was trapped in one of the cities over there, basically no infrastructure, off-grid in a major metropolitan area for over a year. So the guy lived through an actual shit-hit-the-fan scenario. But what I do have for you is an account and some advice from somebody who went through what happened in Egypt last spring when the shit hit the fan over there. And it's really still hitting the fan over there, except it's not in mainstream news. But like you heard in the opening clip from the movie Network from the 70s, they'll tell you anything you want to hear. Also, in my new news category called Divide and Conquer News, I don't know how it can get any sillier than this. Ron Paul supposedly outed by mistake, of course, completely by accident, by anonymous, as being tied to some white supremacist organizations. So we'll go over that a little bit because I don't even know what to say about that. But we'll get there. All right. So let's get into some pre-crime. You know, pre-crime is something that was in George Orwell's 1984. It was also made pretty popular as an idea in the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report, where they would arrest people for crimes they were supposedly going to commit in the future. Well, this is now a reality. This is the type of society we are now living in. And it's all to make us supposedly safer because, you know, you guys see all those terrorists running around out there and all those terrorist attacks that have been going on and all the innocent people those terrorists have been killing all over the world. I mean, we hear about them every day, right? Oh, we don't? No, that's right, we don't. But they're out there, believe me. Using this war on terror logic, we should start a war on Planet X or a war on the Anunnaki. Because, you know, supposedly they're out there and we're supposed to be scared of them. So, you know, let's start that war. But this idea of pre-crime has been around for a while. In fact, it actually surfaced its head. It's 7 heads shortly after Barack Barry Soetoro Obama took office. It was actually brought into the mainstream as an actual idea. And this is something that they planned on implementing. And when I saw this story on that guy Rachel Maddow's show, I was stunned, and I was concerned, and I spoke to many people about it, and I was told that that's just the silliest thing they ever heard. And, here we are with pre-crime technology implemented on our streets. We have pre-crime behavioral officers patrolling airports, and it's become a reality in our society. So let me just play you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play you that clip from that guy, Rachel Maddow's show. I know, I beat that to death. I do. I'm going to play that clip for you, which is, I believe, at this point, almost 3 years old now. Where is it? Through my vast library. We're getting there. We are... Oh, no. I remember where we are. Sorry. I am taking applications for a soundbite coordinator. I'm just kidding. I'm really not. All right. So check this out. This is a clip from the Rachel Maddow show. Now, I am not promoting Rachel Maddow. I cannot stand MSNBC or any mainstream carnival outlet. Believe, just let's not get on a tangent like I'm left-wing, liberal, or whatever you're going to call me, label me as something. I'm a free-thinking human being. That's what you can label me as. And here's Rachel Maddow's clip discussing her surprise at Barry Obama's mention of pre-crime and the way he wants to implement it and why.
In the last 4 minutes or so that we have left...
Although that was close, that wasn't Rachel Maddow. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Sorry about that.
But we begin tonight with a tale of two speeches, both from the same man, both from President Obama. One speech that could have been billed as a ballad to the Constitution, a proclamation of American values, a repudiation of the lawless behavior of the last presidential administration, and another speech announcing a radical new claim of presidential power that is not afforded by the Constitution and that has never been attempted in American history, even by George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Remarkably, President Obama today made both of those speeches simultaneously. Standing inside the National Archives in front of the actual original Constitution, President Obama delivered a blistering critique of the Bush administration, in which he called their actions and their legacy literally a mess.
Our government made a series of hasty decisions. Poorly planned, haphazard approach. Too often, we set those principles aside as luxuries that we could no longer afford. Our government made decisions based on fear rather than foresight. The decisions that were made over the last 8 years established an ad hoc legal approach for fighting terrorism that was neither effective nor sustainable.
An ad hoc legal approach for fighting terrorism that was neither effective nor sustainable. Ouch. Then, moments later, he announced his own ad hoc legal approach for fighting terrorism. President Obama today proposed something new, something called prolonged detention. Doesn't sound that bad, right? Prolonged detention. Did you ever see the movie Minority Report? It was based on a Philip K. Dick short story. Came out in 2002. It starred Tom Cruise, remember? He played a police officer in something called the Department of Pre-Crime. Pre-crime is where people are arrested and incarcerated to prevent crimes that they have not yet committed.
Mr. Marks, by mandate of the District of Columbia Pre-Crime Division, I'm placing you under arrest for the future murder of Sarah Marks and Donald Dubin that was to take place today, April 22nd, at 0800 hours, 4 minutes. No, I didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything, but you're gonna. Future murder. Creepy, right? Putting somebody in jail not for what they've done, but for what you're very sure they're going to do?
There may be a number of people who cannot be prosecuted for past crimes. In some cases because evidence may be tainted, but who nonetheless pose a threat to the security of the United States.
We're not prosecuting them for past crimes, but we need to keep them in prison because of our expectation of their future crimes.
Al-Qaeda terrorists and their affiliates are at war with the United States, and those that we capture like other prisoners of war, must be prevented from attacking us again.
Prevented. We will incarcerate people preventively. Preventive incarceration. Indefinite detention without trial. That's what this is. That's what President Obama proposed today, if you strip away the euphemisms. One civil liberties advocate told the New York Times today, quote, "We've known this was on the horizon for many years, but we were able to hold it off with George Bush. The idea that we might find ourselves fighting with the Obama administration over these powers is really stunning." And it is stunning, particularly to hear President Obama claim the power to keep people in prison indefinitely with no charges against them, no conviction, no sentence, just imprisonment. It's particularly stunning to hear him make that claim in the middle of a speech that was all about the rule of law.
But we must do so with an abiding confidence in the rule of law. Our government was defending positions that undermine the rule of law to ensure that they are in line with the rule of law.
So, fast forward about 3 years, and what do we have? We have the National Defense Authorization Act. We have the Expatriation Act. And, of course, we have, as I said, behavioral police and computer-controlled surveillance systems working off algorithms to decide if you are going to do something in the future. You hear what she says. Now, let me just say, I commend Rachel Maddow for bringing this onto, television, I guess. But, obviously she's not going to do anything she's not supposed to do, so I'm sure she was told to do this. But doesn't it sound the entire time when she's speaking that she's saying this with a smile? No, it's not that serious. She goes, prolonged detention. That doesn't sound that bad, does it? Yeah, it really does. It really does, Rachel. That does sound bad. But let's get into, so we fast forward, and here we are. It is now a reality, which was once a crazy conspiracy theory. And here we go. This is an article I picked up a couple days ago from January 23rd called "Big Idea, Seeing Crime Before It Happens." You see how these things are just reintroduced and layered upon layered upon layered, so that eventually it just becomes part of our psyche, part of our thought process, and we don't really think that much about it. Because, like people say, hey, look, I don't care if they're watching me. I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, the problem with that is, unfortunately, dude or ma'am, it's not up to you to decide if what you're doing is wrong. It's up to the people who are watching you. The article goes on to say, this past summer at an undisclosed location at a northeastern metropolis, the U.S. An undisclosed location in a northeastern metropolis. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security was trying to predict the future. There were no physics or crystal balls, just a battery of sensors designed to determine human intention through the subtlest of changes in their heart rate, gaze, and other physiological markers. Together, the sensors are called Future Attribute Screening Technology, or, ready for the acronym, FAST, a $20 million federal project that aims to highlight airport passengers whose bodies betray hostile intentions. In theory, FAST has the potential to detect terrorists in the final minutes before they act, in theory. But critics warn that the system may have other consequences, such as flagging innocent travelers through false positives while letting some with ill intent sneak by through false negatives. The DHS, for its part, maintains that FAST is merely improving on a far older and more fallible crime predictor, human judgment. All right, so let's get the human out of it and put it in the hands of machines. I think there was a movie about that. It had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. Anyway, but that could never happen. No, just like Minority Report could never happen. About 3,000 Department of Homeland Security officers already roam the nation's airports, scanning for suspicious behavior and facial expressions in a program called Screening of Passengers by Observational Techniques, or, what's the acronym? Come on, SPOT. There we go. The automated FAST system is intended to supplement SPOT by catching signals that are undetectable to the naked eye. FAST is not designed to replace the decision-making of human screeners, but government officials hope it will eventually be able to passively scan airport passengers and single out those worth pulling aside for additional screening. Once again, If you've had a shitty day, you may be kind of pissed off, and maybe your heart rate's elevated and you have a crinkled brow. But don't worry, you'll just get pulled aside for additional screening. What will that additional screening be? Well, who knows? It could be a strip search, it could be detainment, you could miss your flight. It could be a whole lot of things that might add up to personal cost of time and money for you. In recent trials, Department of Homeland Security recruited subjects and had them attend a mock event such as a technology expo. Some of the subjects, chosen at random, were asked to perform an objectionable action at the event. Not bring in a bomb, obviously, but perhaps steal a CD. Before entering the expo, subjects reported to a kiosk containing a suite of body sensors. State-run schooling system. I do my best. I should actually probably collect some type of disability from going through the state-run school system. We all should. Anyway. Where am I here? Okay, so each subject reported to a kiosk containing a suite of sensors, of body sensors, each able to take precise measurements from about 20 feet away. A cardiovascular and respiratory sensor measured heart rate and breathing. An eye tracker followed gaze and position of the eyes. Thermal cameras measured heat on the face, and floor sensors and high-resolution video systems tracked body movement. Let's say I'm going to a concert, and I'm late for the concert, so I run to the concert. My heart rate would be elevated. My breathing would be elevated. I may have some adrenaline going, so my eyes may be looking around quicker than they would be if I was, a mindless, zombified sheeple walking into the concert. You see where we run into problems with this? That first round of measurements is an essential step, said FAST program manager Robert Middleton, since it assures that individuals are measured against their own baseline rather than some universal standard of agitation. A universal standard like BMI that they're measuring kids' health with in school systems. We don't want to mess with any universal standard of agitation or universal standard of anything. The system was designed this way from the beginning to avoid simply identifying individuals who enter screening already anxious or angry, he said. They'll be able to tell the difference. After the baseline was established, volunteers were then asked a series of questions ranging from innocuous, have you been here all day, to direct, are you planning to commit a crime? The interview acts like a stimulus. Theoretically, it should trigger a more robust physiological response from conspirators than from innocent passengers. Here's what I'll say about that. Let's just pretend, that there's suicide bombers all over the United States, like they'd like you to believe. Even though we've never had anything like that happen here, that's what this is all for, right? It's people undermining the national security of the homeland. Don't you think that if you were going to be a suicide bomber and you've been training for this, you've come to peace with the fact of what you're going to do, you may have gone through some type of training to appear calm on the outside, as not to be noticed for anything like that. I'm just saying. There's going to be some type of training where the average bozo going to the show, or in this case, this technology fair, they're not trained in anything like that. Because it's not for terrorism. It's not for that. It's for control. That's all it's for. And for fear, to put fear into us, so we submit like the slaves that we are. So they ask these questions, and the interview acts like a stimulus. Theoretically, it should trigger a more robust physiological response from conspirators than innocent passengers. John Verico, the Department of Homeland Security spokesman for the project, acknowledges the impracticality of a screening system that relies on interrogation, but suggests commercial versions will be better. Ultimately, he says, the measurements would be taken in a process akin to passing through a metal detector, and only people with suspicious vital signs would be taken aside for questioning. Department of Homeland Security in the technology is based on the controversial theory of malintent developed in 2007 by clinical psychologist and FAST research consultant Daniel Martin. Well, isn't that just cozy? By combining ideas from neuroscience, psychopsychology, psychology, and counterterrorism, Martin concluded that the physiological signs of a future hostile actor would increase with the severity of the impending act, and as the moment of the crime approaches, if so, a terrorist who plans to blow up a plane in an hour should be easier to detect than a man who plans to cheat on his wife during a business trip. Martin, who concluded that the physiological signs, such as heart rate and skin temperature, would be too minute to manipulate, eliminating the possibility that terrorists would outsmart the system. The system analyzes responses that people have little or no control over, he claims, and even if someone can avoid detection on one sensor, it's unlikely he can avoid detection on all sensors. I mean, because, you know, according to the official story, terrorists wouldn't be able to outsmart this technology, even though they outsmarted the entire United States Air Force, Northcom, and everything else for up to 3 hours on September 11th with some box cutters, if you're going to believe that nonsense. You know, they could never outsmart this. And I'm saying that in complete sarcasm because I do not for 1 second believe that we were attacked by Muslim terrorists on September 11th. And the reason I say I don't believe that is because what has followed since then. So far, Department of Homeland Security has tested FAST on more than 2,000 subjects. The results have been better than chance, but not overwhelming, kind of like the TSA's track record. The system correctly determined whether a person was going to commit a malevolent act at 78% of the time. FAST officials have released some of their findings to peer review and have repeatedly stated their intention to release more, but without complete data in the public forum, some scientists have questioned the feasibility of the program. Well, I'm sorry, scientists. It's not really going to matter if you're questioning the feasibility of this program. This program is going ahead no matter what. Stephen Feinberg, a professor of statistics and social science at Carnegie Mellon University, is one of the most vocal skeptics. In 2003, he led a National Research Council panel that found polygraph testing too imprecise for use as a screening tool in government hiring. Feinberg has reached a similar conclusion about FAST. Quote, "It's mainly baloney," he says. I agree, Mr. Feinberg. What evidence do we have coming out of physiology, psychology, or brain imaging that we can do any of this? Almost all of what I have seen and heard is hype. No, it's propaganda, and it's being marketed and sold to the American people. Even if Martin's theories holds up, the success of FAST also hinges on the reliability and sensitivity of sensors that were not designed for airport security. Robert Middleton cites numerous internal studies showing that remote sensors have the sensitivity required to do the job, and that they performed on par with sensors connected directly to the body. Quote, "Scientists who have reviewed our work have typically been impressed with our progress," he says. However, that work has yet to be scrutinized by the general scientific community. Well, I doubt it will be scrutinized by the general scientific community because I don't think the general scientific community is collecting paychecks from the company that developed FAST, whichever that was that I mentioned at the beginning of that article. So, would it be more feasible that technology such as this, and this is a question I'm just going to throw out there, would it be more feasible that technology such as this would be mainly used to identify certain individuals, not based on what they're about to do, but based on who they are through facial recognition and biometrics? Don't know. Are you really going to know what machines or technology is around you as you're going into any events or out in public? No, you're not going to know. You would just be approached by some government lackeys, and they will say that you are displaying signs of aggression or terrorist activity or terrorist behavior or something like that. Let's just see. Somebody like me, the things I say on the internet, about the government and about what's happening to us and what's happening to this world and humanity and all that stuff. If you believe that there are lists being generated, as has been in mainstream media with the Obama administration, you can deny that to yourself all you want to, but it is a reality. Would it be somebody like me who has pictures of myself on the Facebook, which has admitted to using facial recognition technology on Facebook? You remember on Facebook a little while ago where you'd see a small picture of somebody's eyes in the top right-hand corner of your page, and there would be a little question, do you know who this is? I never clicked on any of those, but anyway. So all of our faces that have been put on Facebook are in a database and are being filed away and can be used to recognize you through facial recognition. Same thing happened when I was at Occupy Wall Street. There was police officers just scanning the crowds with video cameras. Now, you're not taking pictures of an individual person, you're taking pictures of the crowd, and the facial recognition software will then go through the video footage and recognize who it can recognize, and maybe put people in a file where, okay, these people aren't recognized yet. This is who these people are. These people are threats to undermining national security. You see where I'm going with this? That was just my thought on the pre-crime thing. And the thing is that, again, none of these things are ever going to stop. You can blame it on Obama all you want. You can blame it on George Bush. You can blame it on whoever you want to blame it on. But it doesn't matter what puppet they happen to throw in the White House. This trend will only continue until the time comes where a national emergency is declared, and then, once that's declared, all your rights are pretty much suspended. Your rights are suspended anyways, but they'll just get right up in your face with it at that point. So, there. A little bit of pre-crime stuff for you. And as we move through the reality of 1984 here in 2012, we have school kids. I mean, we've seen this stuff for the past 2 years now, the ridiculousness of the behavioral enforcement in school systems. Up to, we're going to talk about kids getting arrested, but we've had children shot in the hallways of schools. We've had school systems expel kids from schools for, I covered the story a while ago, from throwing those little tiny little 2-inch candy canes at fellow students. I think it was last Christmas, actually, as they were coming into school. The kids didn't really care. They were picking up the candy canes, and now you have some candy canes to suck on when you go into school. But the school freaked out and said that you could suck the candy cane to a point. There you have it. You're now undermining national security with a pointed candy cane. But I just wanted to go through, this article here goes through some of the crazy things that kids have been arrested for in schools. The other thing is, when I was in school, again, we did not get arrested in school. You got arrested in school if you committed a crime outside of school, like, let's say, breaking and entering, stealing a car, something like that, and then, the cops would know where you were during the school day, and they'd come in, they'd arrest you in the school. But for in-school problems, we got detentions, and we got suspensions. And like I said in the beginning of the show, if you got too many suspensions, you'd miss too much school, and there you would have to repeat your year. So that was the deterrent from getting suspended. But now, let's see. Now, I'm not saying that kids today might not be a little crazier or have some, let's say, behavioral or display some behavior that is less than desirable. But you have to take into considerations what's happening to our brains as these children are growing up with, a screen in front of their face the majority of their waking hours, and the invention of social networks where it seems to everything kind of revolves around the me. How am I going to portray myself on my Facebook page? How am I going to portray myself, on my MySpace or anything that the kids are doing? I'm sure Facebook is old to the kids now. I don't know what they're doing, but you know what I'm saying. But here, check out some of these examples. At one public school down in Texas, a 12-year-old girl named Sarah was recently arrested for spraying herself with perfume. Arrested for putting perfume on. And as you guys in the chat room, the scrolling pictures, you see a picture of a boy who was arrested for farting in class. When I was in class, if somebody did that in class, it was pretty funny. It was hysterical, right? Depending on your teacher might have an issue with it, but nobody got hurt. Big deal, right? Well, there he is getting arrested. We also have a 13-year-old student at school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, was recently arrested by police for burping in class. Arrested by police. I'm not saying the kid should be burping or farting or spraying herself with perfume in class. I'm not saying they should be, but they should not be arrested by police. The arresting of police is a conditioning tool, okay? It's a conditioning tool to make these younger generations more malleable to the submission of people with badges, scary black uniforms, body armor, and guns. Another student in Albuquerque was also forced to strip down to his underwear while 5 adults watched because he had $200 in his pocket. The student was never formally charged with doing anything wrong. I hate to say it, but that goes even farther than schools. If you have cash in your pocket and you happen to have a run-in with the police and you have a couple $100 in your pocket, you're going to be considered suspicious. That's suspicious activity, having a certain amount of cash in your pocket. A security guard at one school in California broke the arm of a 16-year-old girl because she left some crumbs on the floor after cleaning up some cake that she had spilled. Here's another one. A teenage couple got into a little argument and they threw milk at each other and they were arrested and sent to court. Now, how does this affect the child's life in the future? Don't know. Are we still scrapping? Are we still considering anything under 18 a minor and not going to be permanent on their record, or has that changed? I really don't know. Here we have a 12-year-old girl at a school in Forest Hills, New York, was arrested by police and marched out of her school in handcuffs just because she doodled on her desk. And what she wrote was, "I love my friends Abby and Faith." Okay. Should she be doodling on her desk? No. Perhaps her punishment should have been a detention and she could clean off the desks with, some kind of spray, towel or something like that. But no, she was arrested and marched out of school. A six-year-old girl in Florida was handcuffed and sent to a mental facility after throwing temper tantrums at her elementary school. You think that helps? Anybody out there think that's a good thing? I'm sure there's idiots out there that think that's a good thing. Here's another one. One student down in Texas was reportedly arrested by police for throwing paper airplanes in class. Okay, bad behavior, but again, not an arrestable offense. Had they been paper airplanes loaded with thousands of pounds of jet fuel that would explode on impact, maybe then. But here we have, let's see, what else do we have here of mention? Ooh. Oh, here in Allentown, Pennsylvania, a 14-year-old girl was tasered in the groin by a school security officer, even though she had put her hands up in the air to surrender. Oh, man. A 17-year-old honors student in North Carolina named Ashley Smithwick accidentally took her father's lunch with her to school. It contained a small paring knife, which he would use to slice up apples. So what happened to the standout student when the school discovered this? The school suspended her for the rest of the school year, and the police charged her with a misdemeanor. You know, there's a bunch more of these. I'm not going to go through all of them, okay? But you get the point. This actually happened. Here they have this one. This is from 2 towns over from me, actually, where the Massachusetts police recently sent out to collect an overdue library book from a 5-year-old schoolgirl. That's true. But there was a story that didn't make it into this list from my town, a town right near me, where a kid, I believe he's a middle school aged kid, had a toy gun on a bus and was arrested for weapons possession. Weapons possession with a toy gun. Arrested. And earlier this year, a Stockton student, Stockton, California, was handcuffed with zip ties on his hands and feet, forced to go to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation, and was charged with battery on a police officer. He was 5 years old. America, land of the free, home of the brave. Okay. So there you go. There's your New World Order news, and the show's 3/4 over, and I've gotten through 1 out of 4 topics. Okay, so let's go on to some health news here. All right. Along the lines of the insanity, being bad is a disorder. I'm sorry, being sad is a disorder. Okay. Being sad is a disorder. Where? Okay, I guess that article is gone. Let me see here. Again, people, working off. Oh, here we are. Okay, this is out of the New York Times. The reason I bring these articles up, I'm not even going to read anywhere close to this whole thing. Okay, I'm just going to read the overall gist of it. Look, things like this. This is the detachment from our humanity. When normal human mood, behavior, emotion is being classified as a disorder, that is along the lines of movies such as THX. Check that movie out, where everyone in society had a medicine cabinet in their bathroom with being watched by the government, and they were required to take their medicine, their medications every single day. And their medications kept them sedate and controlled. That's what this is for. That's the progression of this. And you can deny it all you want to, just like people denied preventative detention, just like people denied the police state, just like people denied the arresting of anybody who speaks out against the government, the stripping of your citizenship. I mean, all these things have been denied, but yet they all seem to come true. So grief could join list of disorders. When does a broken heart become a diagnosis? In a bitter skirmish over the definition of depression, a new report contends that a proposed change to the diagnosis would characterize grieving as a disorder and greatly increase the number of people treated for it. The criteria for depression are being... See, this goes hand in hand with the pre-crime technology. Displaying human emotions will be a crime. It will be frowned upon. You will have to be a robot in order to go into society, into heavy metropolitan areas, to attend certain functions in the public. The criteria for depression are being reviewed by the American Psychiatric Association. What a ridiculous thing psychiatric evaluations are, and psychology in general. I'm sorry, it's just my take on it. Which is finishing work on the 5th edition of its Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM, the first since 1994. The manual is the standard reference for the field. Well, then we know it's a crock of shit. Shaping treatment and insurance decisions. There's the key. Shaping treatment and insurance decisions. You see, because the insurance companies are in on this too. as are the pharmaceutical companies. And its revisions will affect the lives of millions of people for years to come. In coming months, as the manual is finalized, outside experts will intensify scrutiny of its finer points, many of which are deeply contentious in the field. A controversy erupted last week over the proposed tightening of the definition of autism, possibly sharply reducing the number of people who receive the diagnosis. Oh, well, it won't actually see. And by sharply reducing the number of people who receive the diagnosis, then you sharply reduce the actual issue and the whole autism tied to vaccines. See, because the vaccines aren't giving people autism. Look at the autism rates; they're going down. You know, kind of like to manipulate the numbers and say that, you know, this is now an acceptable level of radiation in your milk. As right before Fukushima it wasn't, but then after Fukushima it was. Just like they probably were anticipating the uptick in seismic activity. And so after Mr. Richter died, they lowered the entire Richter scale by 1 point. Why? And 1 point on the Richter scale equals 10 times the magnitude of the quake. So it's not just a one number, it's a 10 times in magnitude. In coming months, as the manual, I already read that one, possibly sharply reducing the number of people who receive the diagnosis. Psychiatrists say current efforts to revise the manual are shaping up as the most contentious ever. All right. Let me see here. You know, it's kind of like I wrote in the show description. If you're concerned about what you eat, you know, because I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but your body, in order to exist and function properly, requires fuel to do so. That fuel is food. And so if you put bad fuel in your body will perform badly. You will have issues, and systems in the body will get messed up, not work right, resulting in sickness and disease. It's the same as if you had a car that uses regular gas and you threw diesel gas in it, or you threw, I don't know, orange juice in it or something like that. It's not going to work right, okay? And it's going to break down. So just the fact that the American Medical Association, I believe it was them, or it could have been this other organization, this American Psychiatric Association. I forget who it was because I covered this a long time ago. But they had now, it's probably about a year or so old, maybe a little bit more. They have come up with a new disorder called orthorexia nervosa, which is you being concerned about the types of food you're putting in your body. That's, you know, honestly, you guys, I get to the point where I don't even know what I'm telling you this stuff for. I really don't. I mean, I don't know how much more crap we really have to listen to before we decide to do something about it. You know, the thing with that is, people can't picture anything other than what they know, or what they've seen on their television, or through movies, or the things that have been implanted in their brain. There's things that they can't come to grasp with as far as being a human being on this planet. What I mean by that is, when we talk about all this craziness, okay, on programs like this, and people who look at articles and videos and things on, you know, on the internet, and all this madness that we see going on, people get very upset and they get very defensive because they're defending what they think they know. And they're really not defending what they think they know. They're defending something completely different, because when someone defends what they think they know, that means they don't really know the thing that they're defending, because if they understood it, they would not be defending it. But that causes some psychological disconnect. It's like a short circuit in the thought process, and we can't go any further than what we've been taught. My point is, that when you talk about shit hitting the fan, when you talk about society like 1984, when you talk about an oppressive, tyrannical regime where people will be shot, where people will be put into FEMA camps, where there'll be mass graves, people can't fathom that happening here. Or even probably in this modern age, most people. But you see, I look at this completely different. I look at society and the way that it's been structured, I look at it as a prison, an oppression to our human spirit, to our ability to live our lives as fulfilling as we possibly could. If we keep operating within these confines that have been laid out for us, then you should expect no different results than you're getting. We can post all day on Facebook, which is probably what they want us to do, because as long as we're sitting behind these stupid screens doing this type of thing, then we're really no threat to them. Although I could say with things such as ACTA and SOPA and PIPA, maybe I'm a little bit wrong about that, because I've learned a hell of a lot from the internet, or so I think I have. I mean, just imagine, right? Just imagine people living in communities where the community was self-governing and self-sustaining. All food was produced within that community. The community kind of worked together to produce what they needed, their materials. And listen, I understand there's a lot to that, and some materials wouldn't be able to be produced in some communities. Some would, some wouldn't. If you had a governmental structure that oversaw all the communities, just in the capacity as far as protection goes, so and enforcing common sense law, okay, not the laws we operate under now. Those are not common sense laws. The normal things that people operate within. You don't steal with people, you don't hurt people, don't murder people. You don't do those things. At that point, the community takes it into its own hands and deals with the offender. What if we lived in a more harmonic way with our planet, our environment? Oh, I'm sorry. I have a caller on the line. I'm sorry, caller. Let me get to your call in 1 second. What if we lived in a more harmonistic way with our environment? When I think about this, I think about the Egyptian pyramids and how some people believe that they were actually power stations, not burials for pharaohs. And if you look at it from that perspective, it makes a whole lot more sense. Anybody who thinks that the pyramids were built by slaves dragging up big rocks and placing, come on. The precise angles to let alignments in, it's just way beyond that. You would have to look at the Egyptians as living with clean, renewable, free energy. And if we had access to that, then we would no longer be able to be controlled. That's why we use oil. And that's why things like solar power, wind power, all these other, these supposed green things, this green movement to save the planet is a crock of crap. It's a crock. Not that those things couldn't be useful. They could. But you'll never be allowed to have that. Never. Never. Because you can't go drill oil and get it and put it in your oil tank in your house or put it in your car. You can't do that. So you're dependent. And that's why you will never be free of oil. And that's why the entire green movement is a load of shit. Not that it's not a great idea in theory. It is. But it'll never happen. All right, let me stop ranting and let me get on to this caller. Hey, caller, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you?
How you doing, man?
Hey, this is the revolution will be televised. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, brother?
Good. Just wanted to make a few points about what you've been talking about, man. Good stuff. Great stuff.
Thank you.
But the people, the reason why they can't wake up to this, man, is because they're stuck in a normalcy bias. They believe that it, like you said, it can't happen to them. It can't happen in America, but it can. All those people who Nazi Germany, all the Jews over there, when it was going on, they thought, hey, can't happen to us. But guess what? It can happen. Same way Katrina, you know, when people didn't leave, they thought, oh, it can't happen to us. Nothing's going to happen to us. But look what happened. You know, it's that normalcy bias. People get in that rut that they think that, oh, we're a great superpower. You know, nothing can happen to us. We can take on anybody, anything. And I love the great point you made on one of your previous shows talking about how, you know, we only take on the countries that don't fight back. That's exactly correct. Exactly correct. We won't go up against a country that can actually fight back. You know, why is it okay for you know, China, Russia to have nuclear, but Iran can't have nuclear? We're not the world police.
Sure, or why is it okay for China to be such a supposed oppressive regime? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why was it okay? Why didn't we invade North Korea? I mean, you know.
Exactly.
Right. Because it's not about that.
Exactly. You know, they want to dictate to countries that they know they can't fight back. Same way they did in Libya. My point, another point I wanted to make that a lot of people don't realize and how ignorant to the fact of things they are. Whenever we went into Iraq under the false pretense of weapons of mass destruction, George Bush swore that Al-Qaeda is our enemy and there's Al-Qaeda in Iraq. But you know what? They were the bad guys in Iraq. But how come we support Al-Qaeda in Libya with Bad Hajj? How come we support them? How come they're the good guys now? And these are the same Al-Qaeda on record that killed U.S. troops in Iraq, flown in to Libya. Same ones that are going to try to go into Syria with NATO's help.
Well, look, man, like I say about Al-Qaeda, look, they're very useful. They can be used to perpetuate a war on terror, which is actually a war on our rights, on our humanity. They can be used to destabilize countries. They can be used to fight our supposed enemy, as in Russia and Afghanistan. They can be used for pretty much anything. They probably do windows and dishes too.
Oh yeah. Oh, the thing you know, Al-Qaeda started, you know, with the Mujahideen under that whole pretense. Yep. And now they have basically, with the help of the boogeyman, Al-Qaeda, taken away all our, or in the process of taking away all our rights. We're going to become Nazi Germany. That's what they want to model us after these prison-type countries that oppress their people. Same way they do in school. When you were talking about the people getting tasered, it's a conditioning through television, through movies, through all of these things that they're trying to do. And people need to wake up, man. And I feel you when you say, why do you tell people these things, you know, because so many people, I say that whenever you tell someone and they start laughing at you and think that you're a nut or you don't know what you're talking about, you know, yeah. I always tell them, your laughter deep down is fear, my friend. It is fear that you have.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And, you know, the other thing is that, you know, when people disagree with when you try to, you know, inform them about something or you mention something, there's never any factual disagreement. It's just an ideology. It's just the conditioning speaking. It's the automated response they've been taught, you know. I mean, they can never fire back and say, well, that's not true because of this, and this. And they just go, no, I don't believe that, no.
Yeah, I one thing, too, is when people do that and they never fire back with any actual historical facts. You know, there's a guy named Jan Irving who talks about the trivium and all the fallacies that are involved with when they want to fire garbage at you to recognize these things. It talks about how you put it comes in an order of grammar, knowledge, and then rhetoric. You know, they putting knowledge before their grammar, which the grammar, then knowledge. But it's one of those things where it's a mechanism for them to just automatically dismiss things because of the conditioning that they're used to. They're used to this. They see they don't live in the real world is the thing. And you and I, we live in the real world. We see what others don't see. A lot of people don't see this. They're so blind, and it's amazing whenever you talk to someone and they have no idea of something, of a historical fact. And I'm like, you didn't know this? And they're like, no, I had no idea. Because, number one, school doesn't teach you anything. School is a prison that we take our kids to and drop them off where they learn all the corrupt crap in the world. They don't teach anymore. You know, they hit them right on the head.
They teach things. They just don't teach anything worthwhile. They teach them how to be more malleable, more controllable. It's a conditioning. Right. It's a taught through conditioning. But, yeah, you're right. Charlotte Iserby, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's deliberately they're dumbing our children down with BS. They want to mimic all the crap they see on TV. They want to mimic they glamorize 16 and pregnant. They glamorize that, man.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Really? What is so glamorous about being a pregnant teenager? It robs you of your teenage years, of your innocence, you know, or even if the things that you want to do, in your life, because you're raising a child as a teenager. That's nothing to glamorize.
Well, they also glamorize the police state. Huge.
Oh.
I mean, you know, you get all these good-looking, studly guys and hot girls, you know, out there fighting crime and having a real good time doing it.
Oh yeah. I mean, really, we are led by these globalists are a bunch of psychopaths. They are psychotic. And they are trying to turn us into these. Basically, they're trying to turn us into slaves. And people it's so hard for them to see it, you know, and because they don't want to break the train of thought. I always tell them, look, you need to grow up and see what's going on around you. Just take a look. Just don't take my word for it. Just research a little bit. Never take someone's word at face value, you know, because basically when you repeat what someone else says, you're just like a parrot. You're repeating something. Everyone tells you that is a true person who wants the truth, they're going to go and research it and read it for themselves.
Right, and what the wording you just used there, and you made a point about wording before, or grammar, which, by the way, was we can just relate that to political correctness. You know, that's what all that stuff is about. But you know, when you say, I forgot what was I going to say? It's presented to us in a very childlike manner because people's thought process is very childlike. It's very childlike. It's very basic. You know, I don't have television. I haven't had television for almost, I don't know, maybe 8-9 months, probably getting close to a year now. When I watch it now, if I'm somewhere where the television is on, I might as well be watching Sesame Street, you know, at 7:00 on CNN. I mean, it's just presented for a childlike mentality. I mean, how anybody could think they're actually getting any type of information out of this thing or anything useful is beyond me. And I have people sit there and tell me, and they're like, oh, well, that's, you know, it's true. It's on the news. And I'm like, yeah, but what about this, and this? And they're like, no, it's on the news.
Yeah. When I talk about Fox News, which is the biggest propaganda lie machine, I call it fixed news because everything is spoon-fed to these people. And you know, you try to talk to people, but it's due through like you say, the diet. They're fed the GMOs, the aspartame, you know, and the quick fix is a medication. Let's go to the doctor and get this medicine and this or that. No, let's don't do that. You know, people who, you know, if they have one problem, they want to put them on some kind of Prozac or Zoloft or some kind of crap that's full of sodium fluoride that basically does nothing but kill their brain anyway.
Right. Yeah. It makes you an emotionless zombie. So, hey, there you go, buddy. You're not sad anymore. In fact, you're not anything.
Yeah. You ever see the movie Equilibrium? It was about with
I have not seen it yet, but I'm dying to see it, man. I have not seen it yet.
They make them take meds where they feel nothing.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to feel anything, you know. So, I mean, it's you know, people need to wake up, man, and I appreciate what you're doing. And I appreciate everything you're doing because if you wake one person up, you're doing something. You know, I always say that if I wake one person up, get them to research and start doing things, I feel like I've accomplished something, you know. So what you're doing great work, man. Keep it up. Love your show.
Thanks.
And just keep plugging away, brother. That's all you can do, man. When you feel like you're not getting anywhere, just keep plugging away, man. You're gonna make a difference in someone's life, you know.
I appreciate it, my brother. I appreciate
it.
I know I have woken a few people up. I do know that. They've told me, and so there is I will say this. I've been doing this thing for about 2 years now, and the response I get now is a lot more positive than it was when I started.
Absolutely.
So that keeps you going, and having calls like this, and now that I kind of know you from the Facebook thing, hopefully we can talk some more in the future.
Absolutely, man. I will promote, like I said, I will promote your Facebook page. I actually posted tonight that you were streaming live on right now on your FrontRadio.net. I mean,
Thanks,
I support you, man, and I will put you out there as much as we can possibly do, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. You have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right.
Awesome. All right. That's cool, man. Revolution will be televised. I appreciate the call. It's nice to hear from people who know what the hell's going on, And I'll say something about that. What he said was, he's awake. He gets what's going on. He said, people like me, I'm awake. I get what's going on. Look, I'll take that to a point. As I always say, I'm smart enough to know that I know nothing. Maybe the point that I'm at, the point that he's at in the waking up process, maybe we see some of it or a lot of it, or we see for what it is, or we see that what we're told is not right. I still believe, though, there is a lot more that we don't see, and I don't know what that is, and I attribute that to why all these things happen, and how can the people that perpetuate these horrible things on the planet and humanity, and have been for centuries or decades, how can they actually be people like us? And I know that might go out there a little bit for people, but I don't know of how any rational, no matter how greedy you are, or how much of a you are, how can you not warn people about the pollution, radioactivity spewing out of Fukushima? How can you perpetuate wars where children are just dismembered and blown up and shot by people? How can you do this and put your head on a pillow at night? I just think there has to be something more to it. There has to be. And whether or not the people that we see in media that we might call elites, maybe they're being run by people that we don't see. Yes, I know the Illuminati and the top, 13 families or whatever it is, or 7 families. I can't remember the number, whatever, because I don't really care about that whole thing. That's not going to do me any good to learn or know that. But are these people, have they been told the big picture? Have they been told a piece of the big picture? And so that's why they're so willing to comply and carry out the agenda and do the things that they do? Is that why people like, Barry Soetoro, who if he wasn't the president, you sat down next to him in a bar or something, he'd probably be somebody you wouldn't mind blabbing to for a little while? Is that why a person like that, or, anybody, any of these people, trust me, there's plenty that I don't want to talk to, but you know what I'm saying, that seem well-mannered, like nice people, how can they go and do these things? How can they justify arresting and throwing someone's life away based on nothing? Think about if you were a guy, picked up, you're a goat herder in, Afghanistan, and there's a contract that needs to be filled for a certain number of inmates, and whoosh, off you go, black bagged, beat up, and flown to friggin' Cuba, where you're going to stay for the rest of your life. It's madness. It's absolute madness. And I apologize, you guys. I am not very focused this evening. In fact, I wasn't even going to do the show tonight because my head's a little scrambled. But I don't know. So I appreciate the caller. I appreciate it. I wish I knew your name. So I don't want to call you Revolution Will Not Be Televised or Will Be Televised. But, I appreciate that. And I think you are right. We are awake to a certain point, but I believe there's more to go. I do. But leaps and bounds above the average idiot out there, I guess. You know, the people stuck in the left-right you know, people stuck thinking they have a choice in this voting process. You know, I'm sorry, you don't. You don't have a choice. You can pretend all you want to. You can say that if you don't vote, you're part of the problem, or we have to at least try. What does trying to vote consist of? How do I try to vote? I either vote or I don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. You know. I don't know. But all right. Let me. What do I have? 9 minutes left. Okay, not that great. Geez, I have covered about a quarter of what I was going to cover. Let's see. What should I go on to? You know what? We'll just do this. Let's talk about this thing. Let's talk about Ron Paul and Anonymous. All right. My stance on both. Ron Paul, although I love the things the guy says, again, there is no voting system. Who's ever going to be president, if we're going to continue to call this person that occupies the White House president, whatever that's going to be is already predetermined, whether it's 4 more of Barry or if it's a Mitt the Twit or Newt or somebody else that's going to come out of nowhere. Well, that's never happened before. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's already predetermined. That's the way it is. I'm not being defeatist. I'm being honest and real. That's it. Okay? It doesn't matter if there's ever been a Republican in the White House or a Democrat in the White House. The road has still been the same. This is why your parents' home cost the amount that it did, and your home cost the amount that it did. You don't have a better home. You may have some groovier stuff in your house, but material-wise, your home is probably actually built worse and with cheaper materials. Yet it probably cost you about 10 times more than when your parents bought a home. This is why back in the 50s and the early 60s, maybe even up into the 70s, that only the father would have to work to support the household. Mom would stay home with the kids. You get 2 vacations a year, and everything was pretty good. But now you have to have both people working to maintain it, and most of the time you can't even do that. In fact, sometimes 2 people even need to have more than one job. Why do you think that is? Is that something a Democrat or Republican is going to change, or is that a road that we're going to continue to go down? And there's a comment in chat telling me what to talk about. Get your own show and talk about whatever you want to talk about. You know, the writing is right there. It's there for everybody to see. The reason why you need to have both of you working more than one job is because the thing that you're out there spending your life trying to acquire is no longer as valuable as it used to be. That's why. And do you think that by some type of magic that's just going to change? No. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, and you can say that I'm wrong, okay? But this is what's going to happen because it just happened in India. And if you don't think that 360 million people can be entered into a cashless biometric society, you are not correct. Because they're putting 1.2 billion people under a cashless biometric society in India. And if you think that's just India, I guarantee you that the company implementing this and the people pushing it are global people, global corporations. So while we go out there every day, or those of you that still do, go out there every day and waste your life scrambling for things that are being devalued faster than you can acquire them, what is the end result? All of you out there in your normal jobs, are you able to retire anytime soon? Can you see the light at the end of the tunnel? You think it's going to get better? Let me tell you, the only way it's going to get better is if you stand up and do something. All of us together. I'm not saying individually, one at a time. But I know there's almost 400 people on my stupid Facebook page. And so everybody listening to this show, add up all the people on your stupid Facebook pages. And if we all got together and picked a date to take a whole week or two off from the system and work, what do you think's going to happen? The same shit that would happen if we all picked out a company, a globalist, tyrannical corporation that kills people for profit, somebody like Coca-Cola or Nestle. What if we all boycotted them and put them out of business? Do you know the fear that would strike into every other corporation out there? I'll tell you what would happen with that. I'll tell you what would happen right away. Two things. Either things would change for the better, or the system would show its hand. And then you would know that all of the conspiratorial things that you've been told are 100% true. But no, nobody will do that because you all want to be comfortable for the time being. Let me say, be uncomfortable now. Anything worth fighting for is going to be uncomfortable and hard work. Look at the things you've achieved in your life where you had to put work into it. Was it always fun? Was there a reward at the end? Yes, there was. But no, not this. Not the fight for your humanity. Not the fight for your children's future. No, none of that's going to be worth it, right? Anyway. Again, sometimes I wonder what the point of doing this is. I really do. Causes me nothing but strain. Well, actually, that's not true. I do get reward out of it. But I do it because it's not about me. I never wanted to be a radio guy. Never cared about that. I still don't. That should be obvious from where I'm broadcasting from tonight, Blog Talk Radio. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to have gone off on a tangent, but there's just not a lot of leeway left. You know, the reality is you're being surveilled. They're going to arrest you and detain you now indefinitely and strip your citizenship based on what you think, feel, and say. That is a reality. That is not a conspiracy theory. If that's okay with you, continue to sit on your asses. Okay? And I'm not talking to the people that are active in this movement. I'm talking to the people that don't want to be bothered or just want to take a little bit of time out. But when it gets a little bit uncomfortable, nah, let me just kick back, watch some TV, and forget about that stuff. Anyway, I think I've ranted enough, and I'm pretty much done. I apologize for not covering anything I really talked about, and this whole Ron Paul versus Anonymous thing got me off on that tangent. Here's the scoop. Anonymous, crock of shit, probably most likely a government-run agency. They don't do anything. They've done nothing effective. They've done nothing relevant. You know what? You want to do something effective or relevant, crash the IRS computer system at tax time so nobody has to pay their federal taxes, okay? Do something like that. You know, out people at the upper levels as far as crimes they've committed. Do something relevant. Crashing the CIA website, big deal. I don't care. Outing Ron Paul as a white supremacist, he's a non-factor in the whole story anyways. It's ridiculous. Divide and conquer crap. Anyways, sorry, we're not ending the show on a good note. That's it. I'm pretty much done for tonight. I'll see you all Monday.
Your choice is simple. Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration. We shall be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.